Is it possible that I could make a short video? Let's find out. Why, here we are. A comment, fresh for the picking. And this one is on a video I made called Do I Look Like I Had a Hair Transplant? And Dan Bobs, I think he's from, where are you from? Ireland, Scotland, somewhere cool like that. One of my international subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you for visiting from overseas. He says, quote, Nick, would you ever dye your hair? If it stayed as it is, but started to go gray, would you dye it or leave it? End quote, from our friend Dan Bobs. So here's what's funny, Dan. To get you an answer, I couldn't simply just respond to you. I actually had to do some research. I had to ask my wife. Because here's how I feel. You can imagine a guy who doesn't care about losing his hair is just going to buzz it off anyway. You could imagine a guy like that would be the same kind of guy who doesn't care about going gray either. And that is the case. If it were simply up to me, as I begin going gray, I will let it happen. I mean, granted, I do have gray hair. I have some, but I pluck them with some tweezers and it's not obvious. I mean, every once in a while you may see one, but I mean, it's so minimal it's not even worth talking about. So I don't care. I will let the gray show up. But see, keeping in mind, I'm a happily married man. I've been married, 8.5 years now. So when you ask me a question, would I dye my hair? You're not really asking me. You're asking my wife. So I asked my wife and I said, am I gonna dye my hair if I start going gray? And her answer was something to the effect of, well, it depends on how old you are when you go gray. She said, well, if it was like in 15 years, then when you're like 50, then yeah, why don't you go ahead and dye your hair? I said, okay. So yeah, there's your answer. Apparently, if I still have hair and I'm losing my hair and I'm going gray, then I guess I'll be dyeing my hair, which I don't have a problem with. I don't care. I don't care either way, whether I have gray hair or not. But since my wife thinks it looks better if it would be dark, then that's the reason I would do it. I have no moral war within my heart about that. Whereas I personally wouldn't feel okay with getting a hair transplant. It's morally hard for me to accept. It wouldn't make me feel good about myself, even though, again, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. To me, that's crossing a line for me, somehow, ethics-wise. But dyeing my hair is no big deal. It's not like a major extreme transition or transformation. So it's funny because when I imagine myself in 50, or not in 50 years, but when I imagine myself at age 50 in less than 15 years, I don't imagine myself having enough hair to really worry about anyway, to even dye. So I just imagine I'll be buzzing it off anyway. But again, the question that Dan asked me, from what I understand, he's asking me, if I end up keeping hair and I don't lose my hair and I keep this much hair and I go gray by that point, if those things were to happen, if that vertex were to happen, would I dye my hair? My wife says yes. So apparently I will. And I can, you know that when you see actors in their 50s and 60s that still have hair, that are men, they're dyeing their hair. If it's not gray, then they're dyeing it. Like, unless you're full Native American Indian, the chances of you probably having to dye your hair are pretty great, I'd have to imagine. But it's no big deal because dyeing it is so easy to do, and it's just, again, it's not as extreme as getting a hair transplant, for example. Again, not putting down anyone who's gotten a hair transplant. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, dyeing your hair is such a simple thing. So that's a good question. And Dan, I learned today about my own life. I did not know that I will be dyeing my hair once it starts turning gray, if it happens in the next 15 years. I did not know that I would be doing that. I didn't know for sure. It's funny though, I knew that about my wife. I knew that she doesn't care about me having hair. But early on when we first got married though, I learned that she didn't like gray hair. So there's something new, information about my personal life, about this journey here, is that I'm married to a woman who could care less on whether I go bald. But if I'm going to keep my hair and it goes gray, she wants me to dye it. So apparently something she does value is the color of my hair. If I'm going to have hair, she likes the dark hair. So, thanks for helping me learn that about myself, Dan. We'll see you later.